The room is quiet now. Only the soft hum of night lingers, a tender vibration in the air like the earth itself is whispering a lullaby you almost forgot. You're here, where countless hearts have come before you tired, restless, searching for peace that doesn't fade with morning. The Bible rests open before you. Its pages move slightly as the wind breathes through the window, not cold, but gentle, as if someone unseen is turning them for you. You trace your fingers over the thin paper, and the sound, that delicate rustle, becomes the rhythm of your breathing. Millions have fallen asleep to this psalm, and now it's your turn. You close your eyes. The weight of the day begins to loosen its grip, not suddenly, but in quiet waves, as if each thought drifts away like a feather in slow motion. Outside, the night moves in sacred rhythm. A single candle flickers near the edge of the table, and its glow paints soft halos on the wall, gold over shadow, peace over noise. The world beyond this room fades. There is only breath, light, and the low hum of divine stillness. You inhale deeply, as if your lungs remember what peace tastes like. You exhale, and the silence deepens, warm, endless, alive. You are safe here. You are seen. You are loved. Somewhere between waking and dreaming, a voice begins to speak, not from outside, but from within, from the quiet space that opens when you finally stop trying to hold everything together. It's a voice older than time, softer than sleep. In peace I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. Psalm 4-8. The words don't just echo in the air, they move through you, a current of light weaving through every tired corner of your soul. Each syllable slows your heartbeat. Each pause feels like a hand over your heart. You open your eyes again for a moment. The candle flickers, not weaker, but calmer, as if it, too, has heard the same voice. And suddenly, the flame feels alive, whispering, "This is holy ground." You breathe in again, slower this time. The room seems larger, or maybe your heart does. There's space now between your thoughts, like stars in a widening sky. Even your worries, those restless shadows that followed you here, begin to kneel before the stillness. Outside, a faint sound, perhaps rain, perhaps wind, brushes against the glass. Each drop carries rhythm, like a psalm being sung by the night itself. You don't know where the sound ends and your heartbeat begins. They've become one prayer, one presence. You hear the whisper again, closer this time, gentler, like a secret meant only for you. Be still and know that I am God. Your hands relax. Your shoulders sink deeper into peace. The world grows softer, blurred at the edges. Even the air feels touched by something eternal. You are not trying to sleep anymore. You are simply resting in something larger than time, larger than fear. You are resting in the presence that holds galaxies in place and still finds room for you. As your breathing slows, the light of the candle bends, then steadies, glowing like the heartbeat of heaven. The psalm is alive now, not on paper, but inside your chest. A song without sound, a prayer without words. And as your mind begins to drift, you realize this moment was never about falling asleep. It was about being found. Stay right here. Let the room be a sanctuary built of breath and candlelight. There is nothing to perform, nothing to fix, nothing to chase. Only the quiet and the one who meets you in it. You notice the way the shadows on the wall move slow and unhurried, like a tide rolling in. They glide across the surface, as if time itself is bowing, making space for your rest.
The
You
room
let your
changes
eyes
again.
soften,
Or perhaps
not
it's your
closing them
awareness
fully,
shifting like a door
simply
opening
letting
inward.
the world blur into
The
gentle
wood of the table
shapes.
feels warmer.
This is how peace
The
begins,
chair receives your weight like a
not
friend
with
who
a
will not
shout,
move.
but with a
The
softening.
Bible's thin
Your
pages are
hands
cool to
rest
your
over your
fingertips.
heart.
The
Feel the
ink, a
rise,
dark river that
feel
does
the
not
fall.
run out.
A rhythm older
This is
than
how
fear.
sacred things
A
feel when you
rhythm
finally
he
slow down
knows
enough to
by
touch them.
name.
Now let your
The
shoulders
pages of
fall
the
a little
Bible
more.
lift again with the wind,
Unclench the
and
jaw.
a single verse glows
Rest your
in
tongue
memory,
against the roof of your mouth.
almost as if the
Let the
thin
muscles
paper
around your eyes
carries a
soften
warm
like
ember
wax in
inside
warm
it.
light.
You don't strain
A
to
single
read.
breath rolls
You
through
allow
you
the
like a tide
words to
returning to
find you.
shore.
The
And in
way
that
a
gentle
shoreline
returning,
finds
you
every
hear a line
wave
of the
that
psalm
returns
rise
to it.
again,
You are
not
being
to be
found
analyzed, but to be
again.
kept.
Now,
Peace,
breathe in
safety,
slowly for a count of
rest.
4. Hold
Outside,
gently
a low hush
for
of rain
2.
begins,
Exhale
thin,
for
silver,
6.
and steady.
Notice how the
Each
exhale
drop is a
loosens
metronome for
something,
surrender.
how the weight
You
drops
imagine the
through
roof wearing
floorboards
1,000
into the
tiny
quiet
crowns of
earth
water,
that can hold
each
it.
one a small
Again,
amen to
in
your
for
quiet.
4. Hold
There is
for
worship
2.
in this softness,
Out for
a
6.
liturgy without
Your
noise,
body
a
remembers
choir made of
safety.
night and
Your
breath.
soul remembers
Your mind offers
home.
you a list,
Listen closely.
unfinished tasks,
Far away,
unanswered
a
messages,
train murmurs.
the ache that visits
Or
when the lights
perhaps
go
it's
out.
only the wind
You acknowledge
threading
the
through the
list,
trees
then
like
place
a
it in the
silver
open
ribbon.
palms of the
Either
dark,
way,
where it
the
dissolves
night is
grain by
singing.
grain,
It
like
always
salt in
has.
warm water.
You just arrived
What must
in
be
time
done
to hear
will
it.
be done.
The candle leans,
What can rest
then
may rest.
steadies, flame
Tonight,
shaped
even your
like
efforts
a small
are allowed to
tear of
sleep.
gold.
Let
It
your breathing
flickers in
match the
slow
rain now.
syllables,
In on the
as if
gathering
whispering a
drops,
language no
out on the
panic
drift
can
along the gutter.
understand. You
In
let
with
that
the gentle
language
swell,
speak for you.
out with the
No
release.
explanations.
You notice that
no
sleep is not a
arguments,
destination you
just
have
a
to
gentle,
reach.
holy
It's a
yes
river you have already
to the
stepped into.
stillness that is
The
already
current is
here.
soft, but it
Millions
carries
have fallen
everything.
asleep to this psalm.
The candle
Imagine
breathes
them
again.
now, a constellation
Its
of
flame
weary
is quieter
hearts
than before,
across cities
a
and
small heart of
countrysides,
gold in the
dark
wide blue dark.
apartments and silent hospitals.
You think of green pastures you
backseats
cannot
and
currently see
bedrooms,
but can somehow
hearts
remember.
that once beat fast
The cool
with
grass,
worry,
the
now
slow water,
moving at the
the hand that
unhurried
leads
pace
without
of
pulling.
trust. You are
You do
part
not
of
need the
that
picture to be
constellation
sharp.
tonight.
It is
A
enough that it is
quiet light
kind.
among quiet
Millions,
lights.
the whisper
A thought
returns.
floats up, small,
Millions have found rest right
familiar,
here, with this psalm
insistent.
opening like a
You do
door in
not
the night.
push it away.
The number
You
is not
bless
there to
it with
impress you.
attention,
It is there to
then
assure
let it
you.
pass like a
Peace
cloud
is not
across
scarce.
a wide sky.
Presence is
the
not
sky
rare.
does not fight
There is
the
more than
cloud.
enough for you right
The
now.
sky knows the sun is
You
still
sit a little
behind
deeper
it.
into the
You
chair.
remember this
You
too.
feel the blanket slide
You
higher over
remember
your
the sun.
shoulders,
A
the
softer
fabric
voice
catching the
rises
candle's
closer
warmth.
than breath.
A tiny
Truer
draft
than
slips
memory.
under the
You
window
are not
frame,
alone.
brushing your
You
cheek
never
with the
were.
softness of
You
a wing.
are not behind.
If you listen
You
closely,
are not too
the
late.
wing is a word,
You are here.
and the word is simple.
And I am here.
Stay.
The room changes
So
again.
you stay.
Or perhaps
You
it's
let
your
the minutes
awareness
drift
shifting
without
like
counting
a door
them.
opening inward.
You let the psalm
wood of
hum
the
beneath
table
your
feels
ribs,
warmer.
a lullaby
The
that
chair
does not
receives
need
your
melody
weight
to be
like a
music.
friend who will not
You let the
move.
room become
The
what it was
Bible's
always
thin
meant to be,
pages are cool
a small
to your
Bethlehem where the
fingertips.
holy arrives in ordinary
The
light.
ink, a dark river that does not run out. This is how sacred things feel when you finally slow down enough to touch them. Now, let your shoulders fall a little more. Unclench the jaw. Rest your tongue against the roof of your mouth. Let the muscles around your eyes soften like wax in warm light. A single breath rolls through you like a tide returning to shore. And in that gentle returning, you hear a line of the psalm rise again, not to be analyzed, but to be kept. Peace, safety, rest. Outside, a low hush of rain begins, thin, silver, and steady. Each drop is a metronome for surrender. You imagine the roof wearing 1,000 tiny crowns of water, each one a small amen to your quiet. There is worship in this softness, a liturgy without noise, a choir made of night and breath. Your mind offers you a list, unfinished tasks, unanswered messages, the ache that visits when the lights go out. You acknowledge the list, then place it in the open palms of the dark, where it dissolves grain by grain, like salt in warm water. What must be done will be done. What can rest may rest. Tonight, even your efforts are allowed to sleep. Let your breathing match the rain now. In on the gathering drops, out on the drift along the gutter, in with the gentle swell, out with the release. You notice that sleep is not a destination you have to reach. It's a river you have already stepped into. The current is soft, but it carries everything. The candle breathes again. Its flame is quieter than before, a small heart of gold in the wide blue dark. You think of green pastures you cannot currently see, but can somehow remember the cool grass, the slow water, the hand that leads without pulling. You do not need the picture to be sharp. It is enough that it is kind. Millions, the whisper returns. Millions have found rest right here, with this psalm opening like a door in the night. The number is not there to impress you. It is there to assure you. Peace is not scarce. Presence is not rare. There is more than enough for you right now. You sit a little deeper into the chair. You feel the blanket slide higher over your shoulders, the fabric catching the candle's warmth. A tiny draft slips under the window frame, brushing your cheek with the softness of a wing. If you listen closely, the wing is a word, and the word is simple. Stay. So you stay. You let the minutes drift without counting them. You let the psalm hum beneath your ribs, a lullaby that does not need melody to be music. You let the room become what it was always meant to be, a small Bethlehem where the holy arrives in ordinary light. And as the rain steadies, as your breath grows even and slow, a final thought lands with the gentleness of snow. Perhaps the miracle is not that sleep finally comes, but that love has been here the whole time, waiting with the patience of stars. The rain has stopped. Only the soft ticking of drops sliding down the window remains tiny pearls tracing paths of silver on glass. The candle still burns, smaller now, quieter, as if it too is breathing with you. You sit in the hush that follows. It's not silence, it's something deeper, something alive, the kind of quiet that listens back. Your breath slows. Each inhale feels like a wave returning to shore. Each exhale, a release of weight you didn't know you carried. You are lighter now. You are arriving, not somewhere far away, but here fully, finally, here. Somewhere in the stillness, the whisper returns. It doesn't come from the air. It rises from within, like water finding its source again. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. The words settle in you. They don't ask for effort. They simply exist, ancient and near, warm and infinite. You feel them pulse beneath your ribs, glowing softly, the way dawn begins long before the sun appears. The candle flickers once, and in that brief shimmer, the light feels almost alive, as though something unseen just moved across the room, leaving peace in its wake. Millions have fallen asleep to this psalm, and now its rhythm is finding you. You are not here by accident. You are here because peace has been calling your name. The light shifts again. A faint blue begins to breathe through the window, the earliest trace of dawn hidden behind clouds. You notice how the color folds into the candle's gold, how the two lights meet without fighting, one born of wax and flame, the other of sky and mercy. You rest deeper into the chair. The wooden frame creaks a little, like a friendly sigh. Your pulse has slowed to the rhythm of something steady and kind. In that rhythm, images unfold soft, dreamlike, but real enough to touch. A meadow stretches before you. The air is cool and smells of rain. Grass bends beneath invisible wind, and water drifts nearby, clear enough to mirror every thought you've just released. It isn't far away. It lives behind your closed eyes. Each breath opens the field wider until the green becomes a sea of peace. You sense a presence moving there, quiet, deliberate, certain. It walks beside the stream, leaving no footprint except calm. It is not a stranger. It is the same gentleness that lifted your breath a moment ago, the same warmth that steadies the flame beside you. The world of your room and the world of this meadow are now the same place. Rain on the window is the river in the field. The candlelight is the morning sun rising over still water. You are both here and there, held between the two as if the night itself is praying you into rest. The whisper returns, softer than before, a single word shaped in light peace. It does not command, it simply is, and in its quiet presence, everything unnecessary falls away. There is only breath. There is only the gentle pulse of now. The meadow fades slowly, not disappearing, but folding itself into quiet. The candlelight returns the familiar glow of your room, the small hum of air in the vents, the faint shimmer of rain now resting on the glass. You realize nothing outside has changed. Only you have. Peace is no longer something you reach for. It lives where your breathing lives. The pages of the Bible shift again, a single verse rising to meet your eyes, though you do not try to read. It is enough to feel its shape, the texture of thin paper and ink. It's enough to know that every word written there has already been spoken into your life somehow, even in silence. You sit in that knowing for a while. Minutes loosen, melting into one another. There is no rush, no schedule waiting behind the door, only the gentle unfolding of now. The flame beside you lowers, stretching thin before gathering itself again, steady, patient, alive. Millions have fallen asleep to this psalm. Maybe they too sat in a room like this, listening to the same hush, learning the same truth that peace isn't found, it's remembered. That safety isn't earned, it's received. That rest is not the absence of noise, but the presence of love. You lean back slightly. The wood behind you feels like the hands of a friend, firm yet tender. Your breath moves slower still, each inhale tracing light through your chest, each exhale releasing what no longer needs to stay. The night hums around you, low and kind. If sleep were a tide, it would be reaching your shore right now. The whisper comes one last time before the story begins. Gentle, almost a sigh. You are safe. You are loved. Rest and listen. The candle wavers, then steadies once more, holding its small circle of light. And as you drift between waking and dream, the next sound you hear isn't from outside at all. It's the beginning of a story, one meant just for you. You used to keep the lights on past midnight, not because you were afraid of the dark, but because quiet had a way of bringing every unsolved thing to your door. Bills, messages you meant to answer, a name you don't say out loud. Silence was a corridor where echoes multiplied, so you filled it with noise, videos playing behind other videos, songs stacked on top of songs. The glow said, "Stay awake, and you won't have to feel it." But tonight is different. Tonight you've turned the lights low on purpose, not to escape the noise, but to meet the quiet head-on, as if peace were waiting somewhere inside it, with a chair pulled out, saving you a place. It began earlier, when daylight was still rinsing the streets in thin gold. You were walking home, shoulder aching from the weight of a bag that always seems heavier by evening, when you passed the small shop with the scratched window, the one you never noticed until you did. Old books filled the display, spines faded like memory, corners softened by other hands. One lay open under the glass. You couldn't read the words, only the shape of lines, but your steps slowed, and something tugged you inside. There, in the hush that all good shops keep, you found it on a low shelf, the Bible with the worn leather cover, someone's initials pressed in small letters on the inside flap, a ribbon like a vein of light marking a page. You ran your thumb along the edges. The paper felt like wings. You didn't plan to buy it. You didn't plan any of this. But the owner looked up with kind eyes and said, "It's a good one." You nodded, not for him, but for the part of you that already knew. Now it rests on your table at home, the ribbon still where you found it. You didn't move the marker. You wanted to honor the stranger who left it there, as if their last prayer might lean forward into your night. You sit. The room is a soft cave of dark and candlelight. On the street outside, a single car passes like a thought that decides not to stay. You open to the marked page. The chapter number is small and steady, the verse unfurling without hurry. You read a few words. You read them again. You discover that you're not reading as much as listening, the way you listen to the sea, less for the exact syllables and more for the shape of the tide. Somewhere under the printed lines, a meaning moves like water around stone. Your phone buzzes once and then gives up. You turn it face down, not in defiance, simply as a way of telling your night that you're here for it. This hour is not an accident. This room is not an accident. The ache that brought you here, the ache you kept trying to outrun, doesn't feel like an enemy anymore. It feels like a hand on your shoulder guiding you to sit. You breathe, slowly, on the table. The leather warms under your palm. Behind your ribs, something loosened by the opening scene loosens again, like a knot remembering how to become a strand. You don't know what to pray, so you don't. You don't need to be impressive in rooms where love already knows your name. A memory drifts in, uninvited but not unwelcome. A night on a bus years ago, the world sliding past in smudges of neon and rain. You were younger, awake not from coffee but from worry that had the strength of a storm. Across the aisle sat an older woman with a scarf tied high on her head, hands folded over a book. She never once looked at you, but every so often her lips moved, and the lines of her face softened in a way you didn't know faces could. You didn't understand it then. You only remember the calm that seemed to travel from her seat to yours, the way one person's rest can stretch like a blanket to cover another. Tonight, that memory feels like a breadcrumb from the past leading you forward. You notice the verse again. It doesn't demand attention, it invites it, the way a porch light invites a traveler to stop pretending they aren't looking for home. There is a steadiness in the sentence, a quiet confidence that refuses to be loud because it doesn't need to be. The words arrive with the ease of a heartbeat you don't have to think about. Outside, the wind changes direction, and the curtain lifts like a slow breath. The air carries the smell of pavement cooling after rain, and somewhere, faintly, the sweetness of jasmine from a garden you've never seen. Your body understands before your mind does. You are safe here, not because the door is locked and the bolts are sturdy, though they are, but because something kinder than fear is keeping watch. It does not sleep. It does not step away. Your eyes trace the paragraph below, then drift up to the margin where a previous hand has underlined a sentence with a pencil now faded to silver. You don't know this person. You know this person. They were tired enough to underline hope. They were brave enough to admit they needed it. You smile, not with your mouth, but with the soft part of your chest, and a warmth moves through you that can only be described as answered without asking. The house settles, pipes click in the walls like distant crickets. Familiar, domestic, ordinary. You consider making tea and decide not to. The ritual tonight is simpler: to sit, to read, to breathe, to let the psalm do the heavy lifting you never could. There is relief in that relinquishing, the kind you feel when a friend says, "Let me carry this," and you're finally tired enough to say yes. You don't know when the first tear arrives, only that it isn't sharp. It comes not as grief, but as soft rain in a field already green. You let it fall. It leaves no mark on the page, only a small circle of light in the candle's reflection, like the world winking its approval. Time thins. You could look at the clock, but it would mean leaving this meadow of quiet you've found inside a city apartment, and you don't want to. The psalm hums under everything like a quiet engine, faithful, unshowy, strong. You recognize its melody even if you can't hum it back. Peace has a sound you can't record. It must be lived to be heard. You close the book without closing the night, holding the shape of the words the way a seashell holds the sound of a tide long gone. The ribbon slips into place. Your hand rests over the cover, as if to keep the warmth in, as if to say, "Stay." You are surprised to realize the warmth does not need your help. From somewhere far and near, the whisper returns, not to announce anything new, but to confirm what has already arrived. Rest is here. Not the kind that collapses, but the kind that receives. Not the sleep of escape, but the sleep of being held. You gather the blanket around your shoulders and lean back, letting the chair cradle you like a small boat moored in a gentle cove. The window glows with a pale film of cloud light. You breathe, and the room breathes back. And for the first time in a long while, you don't wonder whether you'll sleep. You already are. You wake before sunrise, not from alarm or worry, simply because the quiet has a different texture before morning. It's softer, wider, almost expectant, as if the world itself is holding its breath. You sit for a moment before moving. The room is still wrapped in the blue of night. The candle from last evening has burned to a shallow pool of wax, a golden echo of its former flame. You touch the Bible on the table. The leather is cool beneath your fingers, but inside, the pages still remember warmth. The air carries a faint scent of rain. Somewhere in the distance, a bird practices the first song of the day, one note repeated, testing the light. It sounds unsure at first, then certain, as if faith itself is learning to sing again. You open the window slightly. Cool air slips through and brushes your face, gentle and honest. It smells of soil, of things that have waited in darkness now reaching for dawn. You realize you've missed this quiet conversation between the earth and sky, where nothing is said and everything is understood. The Bible lies open where it fell last night. The ribbon has shifted a little, caught on a line you hadn't read. Your eyes find it easily, as if it has been waiting. The Lord will command his loving kindness in the daytime, and in the night his song shall be with me. You read it aloud, barely above a whisper. Your voice sounds different in the early morning, lower, slower, as though it has borrowed calm from the night. You repeat the verse, and each time it feels less like reading and more like remembering. The words don't sit on the page anymore. They move through you, gentle currents meeting no resistance. You think about the word song. You wonder what kind of music the night carries. If the sound that held you while you slept was, in fact, the same hymn sung over every weary soul who listens. Maybe that's what millions have fallen asleep to this psalm truly means, not numbers, but connection, a shared melody traveling across distances and decades, wrapping itself around anyone willing to be still enough to hear it. You glance outside again. The horizon glows faintly now, light washing over rooftops like the slow unveiling of a secret. The candle catches the dawn's reflection, a small flame inside a larger one. It feels like the world and heaven are mirroring each other for a moment, both alive, both whispering, "You are safe." You pour a glass of water, and even that simple motion feels sacred. The sound of it, the clear stream against glass, is a prayer in its own language. You sip, and the coolness touches the back of your throat like grace. Something in you has shifted. It isn't dramatic. It's quiet and sure, like the turn of a key in an unseen lock. You can't name it yet, but it feels like the difference between being lost and being led. The city outside begins to stir tires on wet pavement, a door closing somewhere down the hall, the day remembering itself. But inside this room, the psalm still hums, unchanged by clocks or noise. It stays. It keeps time differently. Its rhythm belongs to the one who never hurries. You think again of that stranger's ribbon, the one that marked the page before you found it. You imagine their hands doing what yours are doing now, tracing the verse, searching the quiet, listening for the same voice. There's comfort in that thought. Faith, after all, is a kind of inheritance, passed not in words, but in presence. The light shifts, and for the briefest moment, you feel as though the morning itself is breathing with you. The air enters your lungs like an answered promise. The world smells new, but it isn't new. You are. You close the window gently, the latch clicking like a heartbeat. The verse remains open before you, waiting without urgency. And as you let your eyes close again, not from fatigue, but gratitude, you feel the whisper returning, familiar, steady, eternal. My peace I give to you, not as the world gives, do I give to you. And in that moment, between night and morning, you finally understand. You don't listen to the psalm to fall asleep. You listen to remember that you were never alone in the dark. The world outside is awake now, but inside, time still moves at the pace of peace. You sit beside the open window, eyes half closed, and the sound of morning feels like a hymn written only for you. The light drifts across the floor, gold spilling over wood, a quiet reminder that even the ordinary can glow. When grace passes through it, you reach for the Bible again. The ribbon still rests at that same psalm, the one that called you last night. You lift the page, and the paper sighs softly between your fingers, like a secret being told again. Your voice joins the stillness. It's not loud. It's not for anyone else. It's simply the sound of your own heart returning to language. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Psalm 23:1-3. You pause. The words linger like incense, each one floating higher than the last, until it disappears into the quiet. And then something unexpected happens. You feel the verse breathing back. The room expands, not outward but inward. The air grows thick with stillness, as if heaven itself has leaned closer just to listen. And in that listening, you sense movement, not dramatic, not visible, but real enough to make your shoulders drop, your jaw loosen, your pulse slow. The verse continues to echo in you, but now it no longer sounds like reading. It sounds like remembering something you always knew. The shepherd, the water, the green field, they aren't places you travel to. They are places that live in you, waiting for quiet to wake them. You close your eyes again. Behind them, the image of still waters glows. Not a lake, not an ocean, but something smaller, more personal. A stream moving through your own chest, its surface unbroken, its current patient and kind. You breathe with that image. You let it find the corners of you that have been tense for years. Every inhale gathers light. Every exhale releases what was never meant to stay. He restores my soul. The line rises again, softer this time, and your lips shape it like a promise kept. It feels less like repetition and more like revelation. To be restored is not to be repaired. It's to be remembered, brought back to the wholeness that never left you. The city murmurs faintly outside. A car door, a voice, the rustle of morning routines, but they sound distant, as if life has turned down its volume. To let this sacred frequency speak, you realize that this is what the psalm has been doing all along, teaching you the language of stillness, one syllable at a time. You whisper it once more, letting the words stretch across the space between heaven and breath. He restores my soul. And for a moment, the words no longer belong to you. They belong to everything. They belong to the wind that moves through the curtains, to the sunlight that spills across your floor, to the silence that has been patiently waiting for you to finally stop rushing through the holy. You don't need to say amen. The room has already said it for you. You stay by the window long after the verse fades. Outside, the light has shifted again, pale gold now, thin as breath. The day feels fragile, new, like a prayer whispered into being. You watch the way it unfolds across the buildings, how it touches each roof, each branch, each silent line of the city. Nothing rushes. Even the light seems to move at the pace of grace. You stand, stretch your fingers toward the air, and something in your body answers a slow loosening, a quiet yes. The psalm still hums beneath your ribs, steady as a second heartbeat. It doesn't speak in words anymore. It speaks in rhythm, in pulse, in trust. You walk to the sink, pour water over your hands, and the cold makes you shiver not from discomfort, but awareness. You're here. You're awake. Every drop feels alive, sliding down your wrists like a small anointing. You look up. The mirror catches your reflection, not sharp, not defined, but softened by the light filtering through the curtains. You look like someone remembering peace. The world outside is calling you to begin the day. Emails, streets, voices, clocks, but none of it feels urgent. You move slowly, deliberately, as though the air itself has become sacred. Each step feels like walking inside a prayer. You open the door, step into the hallway, and the scent of rain lingers in the air. Damp wood, faint soap, the trace of someone brewing coffee 2 floors down. You walk quietly, almost reverently, as if this old building is a cathedral. You imagine every footstep as a heartbeat, every echo a psalm making its way back to the sky. Outside, the sky stretches wide. Clouds drift like soft thoughts. The pavement gleams. You don't hurry. You walk where your heart leads, no map, no destination, just the slow rhythm of breath and trust. Somewhere behind the noise of traffic and wind, a melody seems to move. You can't tell if it's real or imagined, but you follow it anyway. Down the street, a park waits green, still wet from the morning's rain. You step onto the grass, and it gives slightly under your feet, forgiving, alive. You breathe, and the scent of earth fills your lungs. The sound of water, a fountain or a stream, murmurs nearby, its voice ancient and patient. You walk toward it. When you reach the small pool at the park's center, you stop. The surface ripples gently, a mirror trembling with life. You see your reflection again, not tired this time, not lost. You see light. You see calm. You see the echo of every verse you've ever whispered. You sit on the edge of the fountain and let your hands hover over the water. It's cool and clear, and when your fingers finally touch, it feels like touching time, liquid, weightless, forgiving. A gust of wind passes, and sunlight shatters across the ripples. Tiny fragments of gold scatter and reform, like the pulse of something eternal. For a moment, you close your eyes. You hear only the sound of water, its slow repetition, its patience. And then, beneath that, another sound emerges. A voice low, tender, almost indistinguishable from your own thoughts, but not yours. It doesn't say your name. It speaks to what is deeper than your name. You are mine. The words fall through you like rain through leaves. You don't question them. You don't analyze. You just breathe, and the world changes shape. The air around you softens. The light gathers, warm and near. It's not dramatic. It's intimate, immediate, like being remembered by someone who never forgot. Tears come, quiet and effortless. They aren't heavy. They feel like clarity finding its way out. You let them fall. The sound of water receives them without a splash. You open your eyes again. The park is the same, children laughing in the distance, a dog chasing a leaf, the world carrying on, yet everything inside you feels different. It's as if the psalm you read has stepped out of its page and is walking beside you, unseen but undeniable. You can almost feel the presence, a peace with weight, a kindness with shape. You don't need to name it. You just know. You sit longer than you planned. The sunlight grows stronger, washing the edges of the world with brightness. It touches your face, your hands, the open Bible still resting in your lap. Every ray feels like a word, every shadow like a heartbeat, and for the first time in a long time, you stop searching for signs. You simply listen. The whisper returns, softer than ever, woven between the sound of water and wind. You are safe. You are seen. I am with you. You close your eyes again, and the world holds still. not in silence, but in presence. You leave the park slowly, not because you must, but because something in you understands that peace is portable now. The streets are brighter, the world louder, yet none of it presses the way it used to. You walk beneath trees, rinsed clean by rain. Drops loosen from leaves and find your shoulders like small benedictions. A bus exhales at the corner, doors opening with a soft sigh. You could board. You don't. Today is not about distance. Today is about depth. You pass the bakery where the window fogs with breath and heat. Inside, a child points at a tray of sweet rolls as if nothing in the world could be more important. You smile without meaning to. There is a holiness to ordinary hunger when you're awake enough to notice it. The woman behind the counter laughs, the sound round and warm, and for a moment it feels like church. No pews, no pulpits, just the liturgy of kindness moving from one person to another. A block later, traffic gathers and releases, like breath. You stand at the crosswalk and watch the white signal appear, and when your foot touches the far curb, you feel it again, that quiet presence walking beside you, not ahead, not behind. It doesn't pull, it stays. There is a small alley you've never taken, a narrow seam between brick buildings where morning lingers longer. You turn down it without deciding. Halfway through, you find a mural you've somehow missed, blues and greens and golds, all the colors of water and field and sky, layered in strokes that look like they were painted to the rhythm of a heartbeat. At the bottom corner, almost hidden, someone has written in tiny letters, "He restores." No subject, no object, just the restoring, continuous and sure. You stand there longer than you intended. A breeze lifts, and the paint almost seems to move. When you step back into the avenue, the city has fully woken. Bicycle bells, coffee lids snapping into place, someone calling a name from an open window. None of it jars. It all arranges itself into a kind of music you didn't know you could hear. Underneath it, the psalm hums. Not a tune exactly, more like the feeling of having a hand to hold when you cross a crowded room. You find yourself near the river. The rain has swollen it a little, the surface quick with light. You walk the path that runs along the bank, and every few steps, a small wave breaks its edge in applause. You stop at a bench and sit, the wood damp but welcoming. A heron lifts from the reeds, unfolding into the air like a sentence finally spoken. Its wings move slow, as if time were something it could ask to wait. You let your eyes close. Behind them, memories rise not to accuse, not to unsettle, but to be seen and healed. The apartment where you learned to keep your voice down. The office where your name sounded like a number. A night when sleeplessness was a storm you believed might last forever. You don't push the memories away. You let the river do what rivers do. You give the water everything it can carry, and discover that what you feared would drown you is light enough to float. The presence beside you does not change when the memories come. It does not flinch. It does not hurry. It stays the way light stays, even when clouds pretend to own the sky. Your breathing arcs and settles. You are not trying to be brave. You are simply not alone. A bench down the path holds an older man in a wool cap. He feeds small pieces of bread to pigeons that can't agree who's hungry. He looks up once, catches your eye, and nods the way people nod when they recognize a fellow traveler. No words pass between you, but something of gratitude does, moving in the space where speech would only be heavy. You open your eyes. The river keeps its promises. A leaf spins in place until it finds the current, and then, without effort, continues on. You watch until the leaf becomes a dot, and then a thought, and then nothing you can name. It occurs to you that sleep is like this too, not a switch to flip, not a cliff to jump from, but a current to trust with both your weight and your wandering. The sky brightens, the city's angles soften. You run a thumb along the Bible's edge in your bag, feeling the ridge where pages meet. You don't need to open it to know what it says. The words are working their way outward from inside you, the way warmth moves through a cup into your hands. You whisper one line, you remember just a handful of syllables, and the air answers, not with echo, but with ease. A gull dips low over the water and lifts again. Somewhere a bell rings the hour. You stand. The day has things for you to do, calls to make, tasks to begin, but the difference now is mercy. Before, you carried your life like a weight. Now, it feels carried with you. The path leads back toward the streets, and you follow, slower than the crowd but sure. As you near your building, a cloud drifts across the sun. The light cools, the air grows still. You pause at the door, hand on the handle, and listen. Sometimes what you need is not another sign, but a second of unclaimed quiet, one more breath to let the inside and the outside find each other. You take that breath, and when you step into the dim hallway, it feels like entering a sanctuary again. Upstairs, the room is exactly as you left it. The candle sits low, a ribbon of smoke stitching itself into the larger blue. You open the window and let the day in, but the hush remains, unchanged and generous. When you set the Bible back on the table, it makes the smallest sound, a syllable of wood and leather and intention. You sit. What happens when you listen? The question returns not to quiz you, but to welcome the answer your body already knows. When you listen, everything that matters learns how to speak in the same language. When you listen, even the noise wears a gentler face. When you listen, you remember the shepherd does not ask you to run, only to rest where he leads. Your shoulders lower, your hands unclasp. If peace had a temperature, it would be the warmth of this room. If peace had a taste, it would be the cool of water against a morning throat. You breathe like someone who has crossed a distance and finally arrived. The psalm rises again, quiet, uninsistent, sure, and with it, a certainty not of outcome, but of presence. You think of night, not with dread now, but with anticipation. Sleep will come the way rivers come to oceans, inevitably, faithfully, in their time. But even before it does, rest is here. You can feel it in your bones like a bell made of light. You can feel it in the way you are no longer arguing with the day. And in that soft triumph, you understand the next turn of your journey. Not more doing, but deeper yielding. Not more noise, but a truer kind of silence, the kind that breathes. From here, the story will not speed up. It will deepen. From here, you will learn to float. From here, you will learn to sleep in his peace with your eyes open. You close the window halfway. The room holds the balanced world and sanctuary in one. You rest your palm on the cover of the Bible and allow the quiet to finish a sentence you didn't know you were writing. And as the afternoon gathers itself like a soft cloak around your shoulders, you feel the invitation to move gently toward the next stretch of the path, where reflection becomes prayer without words, and breathing becomes the simplest way to say yes. The room has grown quiet again. Afternoon leans against the window, soft and gold. You can almost hear the light settling on the furniture, the way dust shimmers when it forgets to hide. You sit where you've been sitting, the Bible near, your hands open, palms up. There's nothing to hold, nothing to reach for. This, you realize, is what peace feels like when it stops being an idea and becomes a presence. You breathe, in through the nose, out through the mouth, slow, steady, grateful. The air feels warmer than before, as though it's passed through light before reaching you. Each breath arrives carrying something invisible but true. Each exhale takes a little weight with it. You think about the river, the park, the whisper that found you there. It doesn't feel distant. It feels here, alive in the stillness. as though heaven learned to speak without words. You realize prayer isn't something you do, it's something you notice. The quiet holds you like water. Your body knows what to do. Your heartbeat slows, then steadies into the same rhythm you felt by the river's edge. Everything inside you begins to agree with peace. For a long moment, you don't move. You simply listen, not for a sound, but for a feeling. The feeling that the world is still held together by love, and that somehow you are part of that holding. You remember the verse, "He restores my soul." You whisper it again, this time not as a statement, but as a breath. He restores my soul. The words fit perfectly inside the rhythm of your lungs, like they were written for breathing. You lean back in the chair. The sunlight shifts across your arm, tracing the same path it took this morning across the table. You think of all the moments today, the park, the mural, the river, and how none of them were extraordinary, yet each carried something holy in its simplicity. Peace, you realize, was never hiding. It was waiting for permission to be seen. You close your eyes again. Darkness behind them doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels full, vast, kind. You imagine it not as a void but as soil, the kind that grows something unseen until the right season calls it forth. Your thoughts slow down, each one soft at the edges, like stones at the bottom of a clear stream. They're still there, but they've stopped shouting. You can see through them now, to the light underneath. A line drifts through your mind, maybe memory, maybe prayer. Peace is not the absence of storms, but the calm that stands within them. You let that truth sit in you, not like information, but like warmth. You realize peace doesn't erase pain. It changes how you hold it. You breathe again. The exhale feels deeper, as if the soul itself is unclenching. You sense movement not outside, but within. A gentle rearranging, a quiet reordering of what matters. It's not dramatic. It's merciful, the kind of healing that happens when you finally stop trying to earn it. You open your eyes. The Bible is still there. The world is still there. Nothing has changed, and yet everything has. You whisper into the stillness, not to be heard, but to agree. I am safe. I am seen. He restores my soul. The words float through the room like small lanterns. They rise, then fade, but the light they leave behind remains. Outside, evening begins its slow descent. Shadows stretch long across the floor. You watch as day turns itself over to night, without fear, without hesitation. It trusts the dark because it knows the dawn will come. You realize you're learning the same rhythm, the courage to rest, the grace to let go, the faith that peace is not a visitor but a home. You close your eyes once more. Your breath evens out. You feel it, that sacred middle ground, between awake and asleep, between earth and heaven. The psalm hums quietly inside you, not demanding, not instructing, just being. And for a moment, you finally understand what rest really means. It isn't the end of the day. It's the beginning of being held. The light has softened to amber now. Evening arrives like a sigh, gentle, deliberate, unhurried. The day folds itself quietly, and every sound in the room seems to move at half its usual speed. You notice the way the curtain sways, how the dust in the last rays of sunlight looks almost alive, turning and glinting like tiny prayers suspended in the air. You draw the blanket higher around your shoulders. The fabric holds the warmth you left in it last night, a small echo of comfort returning home. You listen not for anything specific, but for the way silence has texture. You could almost touch it, feel its calm edges against your skin. You think about how much of life is noise rushing, deciding, proving, and how strange it feels to let all of that fade without resistance. You used to think peace had to be found, but now you understand it's what remains when everything else stops pretending to matter. The Bible lies open once more, its pages quiet under the slow rhythm of your breath. You don't read this time. You simply look at the words until they blur into shapes of light and shadow. You realize that even when you aren't reading, the words are still working, like roots beneath the soil, like stars behind a clouded sky. A breeze slips through the window, brushing your face. It smells of rain again, or perhaps memory. You let it in. You let it carry something away. You rest your head against the chair. Your body hums softly with exhaustion, but it's the good kind. The kind that comes not from running, but from returning. Each muscle seems to remember its place, each bone its purpose. You feel rebuilt, yet untouched, as if light has rearranged you from the inside out. The clock ticks somewhere, in another room, steady, calm, non-invasive. Its rhythm blends with your heartbeat, and together they sound like proof that you are still here, still breathing, still held. You think about all the nights before this one, the ones where you lay awake, counting mistakes, where silence felt like a punishment. You remember trying to pray and finding only static. You remember the ceiling staring back with no answers. And now here you are, not because you solved anything, but because peace was patient enough to wait. You close your eyes. Darkness is gentle this time, a place to rest, not hide. Inside it, shapes form, not dreams exactly, but memories softened by mercy, faces you miss, moments you wish you could rewrite, all glowing faintly in the dim like lanterns set afloat. You don't chase them, you just watch as they drift down the slow river of forgiveness. Something stirs inside you, not a thought, not even a feeling, but a knowing, a certainty that whatever tomorrow brings, you'll meet it differently now, not because the world has grown kinder, but because you have. Peace has settled into you, and it no longer feels like something borrowed. It feels like something that has always belonged. The curtain moves again. You open your eyes to the evening's last light, spilling across the floor. It touches the edge of the Bible, the glass of water beside it, the small dish of melted wax. Everything ordinary glows for one quiet moment before the sun lets go. You whisper softly into the fading light, not to ask, but to thank. Thank you for stillness. Thank you for rest that does not depend on sleep. Thank you for the quiet that teaches without words. Outside, a few early stars appear. They blink uncertainly at first, then settle, confident in their smallness. You watch them through the window. Their light feels familiar, the same kind of gentle persistence that brought you here tonight. The air cools. You breathe it in. You let the stillness deepen, and the thought comes clear and soft as glass. Perhaps this is all faith really is. Not certainty, not achievement, but the courage to be quiet enough to notice that God was here all along. The clock ticks once more, marking time but not measuring it. You let your eyes close. You're not falling asleep yet, but you're close, that sacred space between wakefulness and surrender. You can feel yourself drifting toward it, and you don't resist. The night waits, patient as grace. Peace wraps itself around you like a shawl of light. Nothing to prove, nothing to fix, only this stillness and the knowing that you are completely, wonderfully, endlessly safe. Night has settled completely now. The last line of gold has vanished from the window, and in its place, the soft blue of evening deepens until it becomes something infinite. The candle has burned low, a quiet heart still beating at the center of the room. You draw a slow breath. The air tastes of wax and rain and rest. The Bible lies open again, patient and unmoving. It no longer asks to be read. It only asks to be felt. You reach out, touch the edge of the page, and it greets you with the same stillness it held when the world was new. In the hush, you whisper the words that have been waiting all along. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. The sentence floats through the room, slow as smoke. It finds the corners where fear hides and folds them into light. It settles in your chest like a weight made only of calm. You whisper it again, softer, whoever dwells. You linger on the word dwell. It doesn't mean to visit. It means to stay, to live here, in this peace, as if nothing outside could ever change what's inside. The whisper returns your own voice, now mixed with something eternal. Each breath becomes a verse. Each heartbeat becomes an amen. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. Psalm 91:4. You can almost feel it, the soft weight of shelter, the warmth of wings drawn close. It's not an image, it's a reality you can breathe. The room responds, the walls seem to sigh. Even the night holds its breath, listening to the quiet miracle of someone finally resting. You whisper the line once more, not as prayer, but as belonging. Under his wings I find refuge. The words hum against your lips like a lullaby. You can feel their shape lingering in the air long after the sound fades. It's as if peace itself has memorized your voice. You rest your hand over the page, not to close it, but to let the warmth of your skin meet the warmth of the word. For a moment, you are certain the two are the same, that the scripture is not something you hold, but something that has been holding you all along. You close your eyes. Darkness behind them blooms like a field of soft light. The whisper moves through you again. No longer words, just presence, just love, just rest. Night spreads its quiet wings across the room. Everything it touches slows sound, thought, even the air between breaths. You lie back, and the pillow shapes itself to you as if it has been waiting for this exact moment. The blanket gathers around your shoulders. Somewhere outside, wind moves through trees with the patience of an old song. Your eyes grow heavy, but you are not in a hurry. You have learned that rest does not arrive when called. It arrives when welcomed, so you welcome it. You breathe in the darkness as though it were light in another form, a softer one, meant only for this hour. The inhale stretches gently, cool at first, then warm. The exhale slides out like water over stones. All the small sounds of a living world remain. The steady rhythm of your pulse, the whisper of fabric when you move, the distant hum of something electrical, faint and even. Together they weave a kind of cradle. You think of the day that has passed, how it began in light and has folded itself neatly into shadow. Every moment spoken, forgotten, hurried has become part of a larger quiet now. You do not need to hold it. The night will keep it safe. You do not need to fix it. The dark knows how to soften edges. Your mind begins to drift. A single candle still burns somewhere behind your eyes, its flame small but certain. Around it, darkness gathers not to threaten but to protect. The two exist in perfect agreement. Light to see, dark to rest. You belong to both. Breathe again. Let the breath be slow and generous. Let it fill every space behind your ribs. Then leave without being chased. In this rhythm, there is a secret the world keeps turning, even when you stop trying. You sense the body remembering its ancient knowledge. How to release weight into gravity, how to let muscles untangle on their own, how to let the heart work without supervision. Every small motion knows its part in the great slowing. Every cell understands the script of rest. The ceiling above fades into shadow. Shapes dissolve until only softness remains. You could be anywhere beneath a night sky, beside a quiet river, inside a dream that hums in the same key as your breathing. Inhale, gentle. Exhale, complete. The sound of your breath becomes the tide itself, moving in and out, a shoreline between waking and sleep. Thoughts try to rise lists, plans, small ghosts of tomorrow, but they lose their sharpness here. They float for a moment, then turn transparent, like smoke fading in moonlight. You do not chase them, you let them go. The bed feels wider now, as if space has stretched to give you more room to rest. Your hands loosen, fingers opening like petals at dusk. Your jaw softens. Your eyelids grow heavier, each blink longer than the one before. Nothing more is required of you. You have done enough for one day. You have been enough. The night itself seems to nod in agreement. Somewhere far off, a low tone begins. Not a song, not a voice, just a vibration, steady and kind. The sound of the earth exhaling beneath you. It moves through the mattress, through the floor, up into your chest. You recognize it without knowing why. It is the hum of belonging. Stay with that sound. Let it fill the space behind your heart. Let it remind you that stillness is not empty. It is full of everything that waits for you in peace. Your thoughts grow slow. Your breathing grows slower still. The candle behind your eyes becomes a single ember, its glow a heartbeat. You hover there, halfway between remembering and release. There is nowhere else to be, nothing else to prove. The night holds what the day could not carry, and as you surrender to it, you feel the edge of sleep rise up to meet you. Not a fall, but a gentle descent into warmth, into quiet, into rest. The air around you grows thicker, but not heavy. It is the softness of night wrapping itself around your body like warm water. The edges of the room dissolve. The walls no longer have corners, the ceiling no longer a boundary. You are floating now still in the room, and yet somewhere wider, gentler, infinite. Your breath moves slower, deeper. Each inhale feels like the first sound of dawn before the birds begin. Each exhale, the quiet of a tide pulling away from the shore. You are breathing with the rhythm of the world, and for once, the world breathes with you. You feel your heartbeat under the blanket, steady and calm. It knocks lightly against your ribs as if reminding you, you are here, you are alive, you are enough. That simple truth settles in the deepest part of you, the place that once carried tension and now carries peace. Outside, a breeze brushes against the window. It slips through a small crack and moves across the room, lifting a strand of your hair, cooling your skin, leaving behind a trace of something sweet. Perhaps rain, perhaps memory. The sound it makes is low and kind, a hush that feels like understanding. You imagine yourself lying under an open sky. The air is cool. The stars above pulse slowly, their light older than memory, their glow constant and unafraid. You are weightless beneath them. Every thought you've carried begins to loosen, each one turning translucent, each one drifting upward until it disappears into starlight. You notice that silence is not empty. It hums softly, a language without words. The longer you listen, the clearer it becomes. The hush between breaths, the echo of distant waves, the small, invisible miracle of being. Your hands rest beside you. Your fingers are open, relaxed. You can feel a faint warmth between your palms and the sheets, the quiet current of your own body giving back what it receives. Even your heartbeat has learned to whisper. It no longer calls for anything. It simply answers peace. You let your attention wander. There is a field somewhere in your mind, green and endless, touched by wind. The grass sways in slow patterns. The sky above glows with the color of early evening, blue softening toward silver. At the far edge, a small stream glimmers, its surface smooth as breath. You can hear it, not loud, not close, just steady, the sound of time made kind. You walk there in thought, barefoot. The ground is cool, forgiving. Each step feels lighter than the one before. When you reach the stream, you kneel, and the water greets you with clarity. You cup it in your hands, but instead of drinking, you let it run through your fingers. It feels like forgiveness. You stay there until the water becomes your breathing, until the wind and your pulse move as one. The field fades. The room returns, but it carries the same stillness with it. You haven't left anything behind. You've brought peace back with you. The candle's glow has become only an ember now, a faint orange thread weaving light through the dark. It doesn't fight the shadows. It rests inside them, content in its smallness, enough to warm the air, enough to be. Your eyelids are heavy. They flutter once, twice, then stay closed. Behind them, shapes of light drift and change. The memory of stars, the shimmer of water, the gentle blur of everything safe. You float at the edge of sleep, the threshold where thought melts into dream. You do not fall. You drift. There is no effort in this surrender. There is only gravity and grace. The night speaks in the quietest voice imaginable. Not a word, not a phrase, just the rhythm of being cared for. It moves through the room, through your breath, through the spaces where fear once lived, and fills them with quiet certainty. You are safe. You are loved. You are home. The wind hushes outside. The ember dims. Your breath slows to the same rhythm as the world's, and then, almost without noticing, you step through the final doorway into the deep, healing silence of sleep. The rhythm of your breathing has slowed until it's almost part of the night itself. Every inhale draws in cool air. Every exhale releases the day. The body knows the way now, downward, inward, deeper, to the place where thought becomes quiet light. The last thread of candlelight fades. Darkness closes gently, the way water closes over a pebble dropped into its depth. There is no weight in the dark, only warmth, steady and wide, only the quiet sense of being carried. You drift through that warmth like a leaf through calm water. Nothing asks you to move. Nothing asks you to stay. Everything is simply happening at the perfect speed. Images begin to rise. A horizon stretched endlessly under a violet sky. A sea breathing against sand. A faint shimmer of morning waiting beyond the edge of the world. You sense yourself there, not standing, not floating, just resting in the space between earth and sky. The wind there smells of salt and light. It touches your skin and tells you a story older than words. That rest is holy, that silence can sing, that nothing true is ever lost. You do not need to remember the story. It remembers you. It hums through the bones of the world, through the water, through your pulse, until all of it sounds the same. One long breath of peace. The tide rises again, higher, slower. Its cool reaches your feet, slides up your ankles, and with it comes the softest release. Everything tight, everything held too long, melts into the tide and disappears. The body remains, but lighter, clearer, new. Above, the stars tilt and drift. Their reflections shimmer on the surface of the water, each one a small lantern of calm. You watch them from the inside of your own quiet. You are not separate from them. You are another point of light. The sound of the waves becomes the sound of your breath again. In, out, slow, and endless. The tide recedes. The sea and sky trade colors until you can't tell one from the other. It is almost morning, but not yet. The world holds that delicate pause before dawn, a pause that feels like mercy. In that pause, you sense something vast folding close around you. It is not a presence with shape or name. It is simply the universe remembering your outline. It presses no demand, makes no promise. It only says, without sound, rest. It is safe to rest. The water stills. The stars fade one by one. The sky begins to turn silver at its edges. You feel the first warmth of dawn reach you, a faint brush against your face, the gentlest awakening. You are half asleep, half dream. You will not remember every image later, but that is all right. Peace does not need memory to stay. It lives where you breathe. It lives where you let go. The light grows stronger behind your closed eyes. Somewhere, a bird stirs. The night finishes its song. You drift into the last depth of sleep, quiet, whole, complete, blessing and outro. Morning will come soon. The world will open its eyes and ask for your presence again. But for now, let everything wait. Let the day find you the way sunlight finds the ocean. Slowly, tenderly, without hurry. You have traveled far tonight. From noise into quiet, from striving into stillness, from darkness into light. And through it all, peace has never left your side. So rest now. Let the breath be easy. Let the heart be light. Let the quiet finish what it began. When you wake, the same calm that held you here will be waiting in the corners of the morning. It will rise with the sun, follow you through the day, and whisper whenever the world grows loud. Be still. You are safe. You are home.